Welcome along to this, the second in our preview series for the ARVR Innovate conference, which is taking place on Friday, the 26th of May here in Dublin, Ireland. We hope that you will be able to come along, and hopefully in this short series of videos, you get a sense of what the speakers at the event are going to be talking about. Delighted to welcome live today James Watson, who's the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer of the Glimpse Group. Thanks for joining us today, James.
Pleasure. Great to be here, Alex, as ever.
Yeah, so we're delighted to have you, and I know you're no stranger to the ARVR Innovate conference. I think you've been an attendee and speaker for quite a few years at this stage.
Yeah, I have. I think it's been probably 4 years, about 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, what we're going to do. This is a very short video for people joining us live or on the recorded version. I guess one of the first things I would like to ask you, and the listeners would like to know, and viewers would like to know, is like, who are the Glimpse Group?
Who are the Glimpse Group? Indeed. Well, we are a Nasdaq listed US company. Been in existence since 2016, so reasonable sort of history there. And the Glimpse Group is formed of 7 subsidiaries, and those subsidiaries offer a multitude of immersive technology solutions and products across various sectors. So we literally go from one extreme of sort of VR training, which is used for nurses. It's also used in hospitals, through to creating top-end 3D assets for people like Snap, and developing sort of virtual try-on apps to sort of use augmented reality to try on clothes. So huge spectrum of what we offer, and that makes it a terrifically interesting company to work for and to run the marketing for.
And tell us a little bit about the geographic spread of where the Glimpse Group operate.
So we have the majority of our subsidiaries are headquartered out of the US, but we also have a substantial presence in Turkey. So we have, I think, approximately sort of 100 developers out in Turkey. We also have developers in Lisbon. We have Glimpse Australia, and we also have Glimpse Israel. So we've got a pretty good spread, with the US being kind of the core area for us, and of course myself based in the UK, so we do pretty well on a geographic spread.
Yeah. Now, before we get into the ARVR Innovate conference and what you're going to talk about, James, a question I like to ask all of the participants in this short video series is, what for you was the light bulb moment when it came to focus on AR, or indeed VR, or the immersive tech sector generally?
It was a combination of things, actually. It was getting my hands on the first Oculus DK1, actually a developer kit. So that was back 10 years ago now. And the first time of trying that, of having that sort of like, whoa, this is amazing, which is ironic because it was actually, I don't know if you remember, one of the first experiences available was a roller coaster.
That's right, yeah.
And it guaranteed to make you sick. They had, the locomotion and everything. It was kind of guaranteed to make you sick. But before it made me feel sick, I remember thinking, wow, this is incredible. But the actual real moment where I saw the value, particularly of VR, is I came across something by a doctor called Hunter Hoffman called Snow World. And he used VR to alleviate pain in burns victims whilst they are having their dressings changed, which unfortunately is incredibly painful. And this was back in '97. And it's still kind of involved, being used. And it was a very simple game where the person having their burns redressed would have a headset on, and they could control firing out little snowballs at snowmen, and it completely distracted them. It's basically pain distraction.
Yeah.
And the ability
there's a lot of evidence around that. There's a lot of evidence around that emerging in medical journals, isn't there? That the fact that you're immersed and you're forced, inverted commas, to focus on something else, it does actually trick the mind to a certain degree. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, during some of these examples, using the Snow World VR environment, they actually were running MRI scans, and they could see the pain receptors were actually less, because it literally is, the brain has so much capacity. And then when it runs out, it kind of has to decide, do I focus on this thing in front of me or this thing that I'm not sure about? So when I saw that was a real kind of like, wow, this technology, you can not only have a lot of fun with it, you can actually make a huge difference to people's lives. So that was definitely a light bulb moment for me.
Yeah, no, really interesting example. And you'll know, but people who haven't been to the conference will know, we often have speakers talk around the healthcare and digital therapies is a big theme these days. And we do have a health and medical panel at the conference this year. If people want to tease out some of those areas, because it's hugely important in terms of immersive technologies, practical deployments right now, today.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not, what could be done. It's about what is being done. That's where there's value.
Now, speaking of what is being done, I know that your presentation is always keenly awaited and full of up-to-date information and insights and examples. So I wanted to ask you, what are the themes that you're planning to talk about to the audience at this year's conference, James?
So I'm really interested in kind of the big shift that's probably happened in the last, depends, but sort of 4 months, certainly, about sort of the shift away from the metaverse, and kind of like lots of discussion around the metaverse is dead. Meta are no longer focusing on the metaverse. They're actually an AI company and all that sort of stuff. So I'm really intrigued to sort of delve into why that's happened, what impact it's had on the sort of ongoing development within the metaverse, how it fits with AI. There's lots of talk around, AI has killed the metaverse, which is ridiculous. It's a bit like saying what's better, VR or AR. And it's like, well, they're different. Yeah. So, there's this whole sort of groundswell around, metaverse is dead and AI is the next thing. Actually, they overlap and there's huge value between the two.
Yeah, I'm going to put on the banner there. How do you see AI impacting? Because that is a big theme, I think, of a lot of speakers. Yeah, and that's what you're talking about there now. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it has to be, because AI has burst onto the scene in the past 4 months. Obviously, it's been being in development and been in existence for much longer, but it's burst onto the scene, and people are very excited about it, justifiably so. Absolutely, and I would argue that the hype that associated came alongside with the metaverse was hype, because the metaverse doesn't exist and won't exist in any kind of real meaningful way for some years yet. AI exists, right? We're all, not all, but a lot of people are using ChatGPT. I'm using it from a marketing perspective. Yeah. I'm sure some of your students, Alex, are using it for various different things.
Or for presentations, or maybe even to set up an interview such as this. Who knows?
Who knows? So what are some good questions to ask? So I think it's really interesting, and I think they're complementary. They're not competing. And particularly from the use of AI for immersive technologies, we already have integrated ChatGPT into one of our VR environments, so you can now go in and have a discussion with an avatar, actually about Salvador Dali's paintings, and you can ask questions, and this avatar will come back and have a conversation with you. There's a slight delay, just because ChatGPT needs to go away and think and then come back. But those things are absolutely amazing, and they're going to completely change experiences. And also, I think from a developer perspective, you have people now able to write code using, AI, large language models that can go away and write code and create virtual environments really quickly. So, all those things are fascinating.
Yeah, so much we could get our teeth into, obviously, and you will at the conference. Just as a penultimate question, how do development and innovation teams get buy-in from senior management for AR projects and VR projects?
It's pretty hard, and it's quite easy to get it wrong. And I think the key things that need to be done are to really be clear on what you're trying to achieve with that pilot. Don't try and do too much. So work out your audience, so work out that senior management, what they're expecting to see, or what they need to see to understand and validate a pilot, and focus in on that. So I think sometimes with a pilot, people are guilty of trying to do too much, or building a pilot that then literally has to get thrown away and you start again. So really focus in on what you're trying to achieve with it, what is needed to get that buy-in that you reference here in the question, and then make sure you can prove it. So, that's not rocket science, to be honest. It's just really being focused with what you do. Don't overplay it. Don't spend too much budget on it. Just spend what you need, do the minimum to get you where you need to get that buy-in, so you get the green light to actually do a full kind of rollout.
Really interesting conversation, James. Thanks for talking to us today, and we look forward to seeing you in Dublin at ARVR.
You're going to bring the dog, Alex, or not?
I wasn't sure if people could hear that in the background, but there you go. He's going to make a starring appearance.
He's very excited about it too. So
yeah,
fun.
well, it just proves it's live, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Okay, thanks very much, James. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Alex.